What does adoption mean to you?
Adoption is whenever you're brought into another family.
You learn right from wrong. You learn other stuff. You learn the roles. You get punished. You learn your lesson. You don't do it again the next day. And you grow up to be a wonderful woman.
I think it puts some culture in our family, like a bunch of different cultures, which is pretty cool.
I actually read an article in a magazine about little babies that were in an orphanage, that the ceilings were leaking and water was getting in the cribs, and it just broke my heart. And I talked to my husband and we decided maybe we could help and look into adoption. But then when I tried to find out information about how to go about it, it appeared that it wasn't for adopting, it was for just, helping them out. So my husband said, hey, why not look into it here? There are a lot of kids here that need a family. So we looked into fostering first. That was the first step. Wanted to see how it would go, and make sure that our kids, were good with it, and trying to help as many kids as we could.
So that was the idea, and we were all for it. I think we all kind of were excited about the possibility of doing that.
Savannah came to us in 2006 after the police had found her for the second time on the street. Savannah's name had been Katie before. She came in very angry, fists up, swearing and carrying on, and just very angry.
I hate you.
We had her for 30 days, and when the time came for her to go back to court, the father still wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing. She was very afraid. She didn't want to see him. She didn't want to talk to him on the phone.
You talk to your dad? What's wrong? Don't you want to talk to your dad?
It came out that she had been abused by her father, sexually abused, emotionally abused.
Why were you adopted?
Because my dad was mean to me, my old one.
He was investigated, but unfortunately, because of her age and because they thought that she just didn't know how to relate the story well enough, they didn't do anything to him. But he did end up losing parental rights because too much time had gone by. He wasn't doing all the things that they required him to do. So she ultimately became eligible for adoption, and we had fallen in love with her, and so we adopted her.
We knew that, this was not a temporary thing. We found out that she was desperately in need of a good home, and we were a good home, so who were we to deny her that?
When you adopt a child, you're allowed to change their name, first and middle also. She wanted her name changed. I guess the psychologist thought that she associated that name, obviously, with bad things that happened to her. So we changed her name, and she decided on Savannah.
I like Savannah better than Katie.
Chase came to us that same year, 2 months later, in 2006. He had just turned 3 years old, like Savannah had. He was being raised by his great-grandmother, who was elderly, and she just couldn't care for him anymore. So she called CYF and told them that she couldn't care for him. Nobody fought for him because they wanted him to be in the system, basically. He wasn't really that loving and didn't want to really be hugged. We had a bird and fish and 4 dogs. So he would just, most little kids, I thought, would go up to a dog and want to pet it. He was almost afraid of them, or he just didn't care. He would just walk by. Now he loves them. Chase went from not liking animals to wanting to be an entomologist, which is, they study bugs. He knows every fact about every bug. He's super, super smart, and he's fascinated with them.
One thing that's particularly interesting about Savannah and Chase, now brother and sister, is that they aren't brother and sister originally. They're only a month apart in age, so they kind of instantly gravitated towards each other, of course, because they're right around the same age.
They were playmates. They were only 3, so they played together, and like all siblings, they had their little fights, and they get along sometimes they don't.
Sometimes we do, sometimes we get in a fight.
She says, please, 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 I want to do this. No, 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 we're doing this, we're doing this.
We try to figure the problem out.
We either separate, don't do that thing, or we just ignore each other.
A solution is when a problem is resolved.
One of the reasons I wanted to adopt wasn't just for myself. I also wanted my children to learn to give.
I've always wanted to have a family, always wanted to have kids of my own, and of course this hadn't changed that at all. You know, I've gone from being basically a big brother to kind of feeling like a parental figure to Savannah and Chase.
They came into this household with kids that were almost old enough to be their parents.
It's very different when you kind of are going through childhood with somebody than to be the brother of somebody that you're watching go through their childhood and you've already experienced it. You're not exactly sure how to even be an older brother to a kid that young, and you're afraid because you have so much more influence over them. It's certainly a lot more responsibility than I'd ever felt in my life before, and because you care so much for them, you want to be that good role model.
I think it has made our family stronger. I think it has made the children more compassionate, and to know that not everybody is raised in a good family.
You know, just to see who they've become is really special. So without them, you know, the family, it just wouldn't be the same.
My husband and I decided to adopt a child in 2002. We started the process using an adoption agency called Journeys of the Heart. We started our paperwork, which took approximately 6 months. Once our paperwork was done, it was sent to China to get approval from the Chinese government. We got the approval, and at that point we were put onto a waiting list. We were on the waiting list for approximately 2 years, and in August of 2002, we received a phone call that we had a beautiful baby daughter.
We're sitting here waiting for the baby. They're out in the hallway. We're waiting for them to knock on our door. Seems like an hour, but it's only been 5 minutes. Johnny, we're going to be parents in about 5 minutes.
You go to wherever you're adopting your child from, and you're given your child, and then you go to court, according to my mom.
We're very blessed to have 4 children and 7 grandchildren. We are especially blessed to have grandchildren that are not American born.
Being in another country was kind of a culture shock. We did a lot of traveling in a little bit of time.
Oh, John, this is Kathy. We're on our way to China. We're on our way to get ourselves a baby in China. We shall be leaving in half an hour.
But when we got Jamie, when she was given to us, she took my heart right away. Just took it. She came right to me, and we've been tight ever since, from minute one.
We raised our children without prejudice, and they are raising their children without prejudice. And that's evident in the immediate acceptance of Jamiana, who is from China. For us, it was immediate. The bond began. I vividly remember her looking at me and reaching out with her arms for me to hold her.
The day that I received Jamie, Jamie was 10 months old, and she only weighed 11 pounds. Look at Mama. Look at Mama. Say, I love you, Mama. I love you, Mama. What you doing? She doesn't remember being hungry, but she had certain things that she would do which would relate to her hunger. Jamie was only fed a very tiny little bit of milk and saltine crackers. That was her diet throughout the day. When I brought her home from China, she would take food from the cabinets and she would hide them in her bedroom. As a small child at 1 year old, she would be hiding food in her bedroom. It wasn't necessarily that she was hungry, but she had the fear of being hungry again. It was in her that she was hungry.
She adapted to being an American because that's all she knew. She was 10 months old when we adopted her and brought her back. So she's been raised American, and that's all she knows is being American.
A lot of my friends do know that I'm adopted, and they don't treat me differently. They just like ask questions about it and stuff like that.
The way she feels about being adopted is basically a non-issue now. She's our baby, and that's it.
I would adopt again in a heartbeat. It was the most joyous and wonderful experience that I've ever had. I have a beautiful daughter that I love so much, and she loves me and my husband. We have a beautiful little family. I would adopt 10 more children if I could.
We tried to adopt again, but because of my diabetes, they wouldn't let us adopt again.
I like being an only child, but I do want to have like some kind of sister, whether it be a younger sister or an older sister.
I think adopting Jamie and bringing her into our family has been a beautiful and wonderful experience. Of course, the size of our family has grown, and it's just a warm and wonderful experience to have children from other cultures come into our family.